Just Birdie, mind my flowers. No, don't trample on them. Birdie, walk on the path. Can you walk on the path?
I didn't see a path.
Bella, one of the things I really love about the movie is the way it mixes the medieval and the modern. How did that inform your portrayal? Did you think of Birdie as being medieval or modern in that way?
Well, I remember actually in the initial audition tape that I got sent through, there was a little paragraph about how if Birdie existed in 2021, which is when we were shooting, that she would have like a weird niche meme page on social media with like 5 followers or something. I loved that sort of idea of visualizing how Birdie would be now and then how that translates to how she was back then. And she's just a very, very curious person. I think she'd be astonished by modern technology.
I think she would be too, and I think she'd be so excited by the ability to communicate with so many people because her world is so small and she's constantly trying to expand it. And that's what's cool about the internet. We talk a lot about what's scary about the internet, but what's cool about it is the way that it can bring people together who maybe feel more alone in their lives. And so Birdie would definitely make good use of the internet in that way.
I reckon so.
Lena, so much of the movie is it feels like a treatise on marriage to a certain extent. And you just got married recently yourself. I wonder, how did you bring that to making this film? Would it have been different if you had made it earlier in your career before you were married?
It's funny. I got engaged literally like 2 weeks after we wrapped the movie or something. And so it's funny, I spent a whole, few years making a movie about like the oppressive nature of marriage. And actually it was like the very romantic monologue about marriage that Andrew Scott's character delivers to his wife as she's in childbirth, that very much came after I'd met my husband. And I was like, maybe being married wouldn't all be suffering and pain. Maybe there'd be some really nice stuff too. The stuff that I write now, that's set now, is still asking questions about marriage and monogamy in a different way. It's not necessarily about arranged marriage and forced monogamy, but it's asking questions about whether these conventions are still useful, what's meaningful about them. And it was really, really interesting to go back in time and sort of push some of the same questions I've always been asking in my work, but both in a medieval setting and with an eye more towards speaking towards a younger audience.
Forced marriages still do happen, and especially with young girls, unfortunately. How do you hope the movie speaks to that idea of women should be free to love who they love and marry if they want to marry?
Someone asked me on the red carpet yesterday, well, what do you think about the idea of arranged marriage? And I said, as long as it's consensual and it's a choice some people culturally want to enter into an arranged marriage and they think that it's the most useful way to meet someone. But the idea of forced anything is a problem. And so I think that's really what the movie is saying is like, it's a very live and let live movie. Do it any way you want to, as long as it comes with a dose of freedom.
I think it's now the question, I suppose, is that you don't have to get married if you don't want to at all, because it's so finance based, and that is a real thing. This idea of romantic love going in to get married for romantic reasons is such a new idea. It really, really is.
This shouldn't be treated as something kind of financial and packaged as a kind of means to an end. It should be through love. It's obviously a story of its time, and so as much as we might not like what Rollo's doing, he's also trying to survive. And it was kind of the way it was back then, although he did pick some questionable suitors, perhaps.
God, you guys.
It's a bit of paper that like legalizes 2 people being together. But then I was speaking to someone who got married just a few weeks ago. She said that actually she feels this sense of being settled and of being secure and just like soft in a cushion, like she didn't expect to feel. I don't have particularly strong feelings on it at the moment. I just find it fascinating, actually.
Yeah, and you're exactly as where you should be, which is the information gathering phase.
Yes, exactly. Years to wait, for sure. The movie depicts a very sort of specific window in Birdie's life, but have either of you thought about where her life eventually goes? Do you have like your own sort of postscript for her?
We've wondered, if maybe could Birdie be, the first older eccentric woman in her area who, figures out having her own prosperous farm and does exactly whatever she wants. Or maybe Birdie does fall in love with someone and does decide that marriage on her own terms is something she's willing to do.
It's a choice, and she has made that decision for herself. I think all she wants is to have some choice and freedom and control over her life, because she feels like she has zero.
That's exactly right. She wants to feel like her destiny belongs to her, which is kind of how we all want to feel.
Totally.